this tent. You know what I love about this town is actually you. Everyone in it has got these massive souls.
We're Luton people, and that's what we care about.
Hello everyone, welcome along to another episode of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast. I'm Kev, your host as always, and I'm joined for this Brentford preview episode by the Lutonian journalist James Cunliffe, and again I've got our trust member and Luton fan Derek Sheppard alongside me. Gents, how are we doing this evening?
Yeah, fine, thank you.
Looking forward to this one, mate.
Absolutely, let's get stuck into it then. Okay, Brentford away then. Second visit to the GTech Community Stadium. First one with fans. Obviously, we played there behind closed doors when I think it was Ivan Toney that scored the winner in a 1-0 Brentford win. But James, I hope to God Saturday's a darn sight better than the last time there was a crowd at Brentford v Luton, because that did not go well in the Championship.
It was a nightmare. Luton a different animal compared to that day. Much more successful, much more resilient. Fingers crossed.
You guarantee me it's going to be better.
Yeah. It's got to be better than 7-0, isn't it? I mean, that was a shocker. But I think Brentford are very good. They've played fantastic football ever since Luton got back up in the Championship. We're playing against them, and they've also established themselves in a Premier League team. And you could say them and Brighton are probably the two that you'd look to sort of emulate. And Luton have always said they're not going to do it those ways, but they've come up from the Championship and have really established themselves and played some good football as well. So it's going to be a really tough one, because you only have to look at the weekend that Arsenal went there and had to rely on a last-minute winner to get something from it. So it's going to be difficult, but Luton have done difficult this week. So
that winner was scored by Kai Havertz, so I'd fancy my chances of scoring a winner on Saturday. Was Rob Edwards to pick me, but that's neither here nor there. Derek, new ground for all of us Luton fans. Are you someone who ticks off all the grounds?
Yeah, I turned around and managed to do like the 92, not just watching Luton Town. I did 92 grounds in a season, which is one of the few people that have ever done it in the country. But yeah, I'm looking forward to Saturday. I don't have no intrepidation or whatever. And as James turned around and said, we are a different beast this time around than we were 2 years ago. I will touch upon, like he mentioned, about Brighton and Brentford. Brentford don't have an academy. They have a B team. They're fed up of London sides turn around and poaching their young players, and fair play to them. It works for them. It's a model that I like Luton turn around and maybe adopt, but I do like to turn around and have sort of the academy, because we all like to have one of our own, as they say. Brighton, they've got a scouting system. They paid a lot of money to turn around and have scouts throughout the world, and we've had rumours or whatever. Mr. Chappell's turned around and been over in South America. We're interested in a lad from Colombia. We're also interested in a lad from Portugal or whatever. And I'm all for it. At the end of the day, these are where we're going to turn around and find these young people. If we want to turn around and be in the top flight of football, or even in the top flight of the Championship, we've got to spread our wings, and if they work out and you sell them on later, you make mega bucks. But yeah, I am looking forward, as I say, Kev, I'll back on subject. I am looking forward to Brentford, and they do come with their own style. They are very well managed. I do like their manager. He's turned around. He is very astute, and you can turn around and see that when he's on the touchline. It's not his number 2 or his number 3 there. He's there. He's giving the instructions. He's the one with the iPad in his hand, and he does remind me. Rob Edwards is pretty similar to that, although he does turn around. Rob will use his number 2 and number 3 or whatever at times, and I do look at Brentford sort of trying to aspire to, at the present moment. Can't turn around and beat Manchester United or Tottenham Hotspur or whatever. I do like the Brentford model, and I've got every respect for Brentford, and I think it's going to be a difficult game come Saturday.
Yeah, I'd agree with all of that. They're definitely the ones that we want to follow in the footsteps of, and obviously Brighton too. Brighton probably attributed to it more because we kind of followed the same journey that they did in a lot of ways, and obviously there was the attachment with Nathan Jones to Brighton and everything else. Thomas Frank has done a good job at Brentford. There's no getting away from that. But are they as good without Ivan Toney?
Well, I mean, he was the focal point, wasn't he? And they've had to change it a bit. Early part of the season, it looked like they'd managed to come up with something with Mbeumo and Wisa up the top, and they're still very much a threat. So you can't take them lightly, but I think they're probably missing the firepower from Toney somewhat, but they've come at it at a different angle, and they're still a threat. I think, particularly with they've still got the pace that they had, and that's going to cause many teams trouble. It will cause Luton a lot of challenges as well. Obviously, if Marvis isn't playing at the back, then they've got to figure out another way there. So goal wise, yeah, you'd probably say so. I think they're averaging 1.43 a game. I don't know how you manage that, but that's what the stats say. And I would like to see what they had previously, because I would imagine it would have been a bit higher. But they are scoring. So apart from against Arsenal, but that's going to be a case for a lot of teams, and hopefully not Luton next week. But yeah, it's going to be a real challenge, particularly at their place, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm going to have to bite my tongue and everything else to stop avoiding gambling lines in this podcast. Taking a punt and this, that, and the other. But
it was 1.58 goals a game that they've scored, actually not 1.43. So there you go,
well,
stat fans.
Hopefully we only get the 0.58 goal from them if they have to score on Saturday. Derek, there's obviously, I mean, you're going to miss Ivan Toney, aren't you? I mean, after Harry Kane, he's probably England's best out-and-out centre-forward right now. But so they play in a different way, don't they? They were kind of direct to start off with, got the ball into Toney's feet or used his sort of aerial presence. They can't do that now, so now they play on the counter-attack. Luton Town like to play on the counter-attack, so we're kind of in that catch-22 situation that we was in last week against Crystal Palace, where we don't want the ball, they don't want the ball, but someone's going to have the ball. Are they going to have more of it just purely because they're the home side? The onus is on them to go and win the game, isn't it? I mean, every Brentford fan's going to that game on Saturday looking at it as if we should beat Luton Town.
Yeah, first and foremost, I'll turn around and say Ivan Toney. I think if Harry Kane went for 100 million, I know Brentford won 100 million, but it'll be sold. If it's not in January, it'll be in the summer. It'll be sold for 80 million, and I think he'll end up at Chelsea, although Arsenal turn around and want him. But I just think that Chelsea will just turn around and outbid everyone. And he's a good old-fashioned striker. He can play with, as he said, with his back to goal, but he's also able to turn around and play with his front to goal. So he is an animal. But going back to what Kevin was saying, I do think, there's absolutely 100% that Luton turn around and will not have more than 50% of the ball. So I look at this, that Brentford will have 60%, Luton will have 40%. Brentford will turn around and want to play like Luton. They want to play on the break. And you'll find that the left-back will be swinging the ball out wide to Mbeumo, or he turn around and play down the channel to Wisa. He's got pace, Wisa. And he'll probably only last 70 minutes because that's what is happening normally. And Mopay will come on after him. At times, if you need to double up, you've got to turn around, down the left or down the right, down Brentford's right. So if Amari'i Bell's playing and Doughty's playing, Doughty's probably got to play a bit more of a defensive role. You can't allow Mbeumo that space or whatever and that time on the ball down the right hand side. You've got to cut a channel off that turns around and feeds the beast. And that's probably Luton's best thing really. If you can cut out Mbeumo, you've cut out half their strength or whatever. And I know that you might turn around and you'll leave another space elsewhere on the pitch because you're playing 2 against 1, but that space might be further deeper and it doesn't quite so, it doesn't. You've got to look upon it that the home side, they're more likely to score, but Luton turn around and well capable of exploiting Brentford or whatever. They have got a few injuries or whatever, then they're not going to be at their maximum strength that they can be. Same with Luton. We've got injuries, but as I see the sides turn around and match up, I think they're quite evenly balanced. As long as Luton can turn around and, as John Still was saying, we can control the controllables and turn around and take care of 1 or 2 people on the pitch and don't give them the time that they can turn around and hurt us, then we'll turn around and could be absolutely fine, Kevin.
Yeah, Derek's right, James. I mean, there's an awful lot of similarities to last week about it. Palace didn't want the ball, but we made them have it. Palace's main threat after Eze was down our left-hand side, their right-hand side, the guy who likes to cut in. Unfortunately, this one scored an absolute banger in the top corner. Hopefully, Mbemo doesn't do likewise. But if we can keep him quiet, you have to look through this side. There aren't a great deal more threats in terms of offensive numbers, at least, to worry about. Not in the. I mean, obviously, when we did the Palace preview, we highlighted Eze and Elise, and Edouard had 5 goals to his name. I don't know how, because all he did was roll around on the bloody floor, but he did. There isn't anyone in this Brentford side after Mbemo who's a regular scorer. Johan Weiss is their second highest scorer. He's the kind of Toney replacement, but nowhere near as good as Toney. And then after that, you're looking at Neil Maupay. Well, I mean, Cow's asses and Banjo come to mind there. He scored 1 Premier League goal in 14 months. 14 months.
You put the Kaibo on it now, Kev.
I probably have. But I mean, if in comparison, I mean, Carlton Morris has scored 3 Premier League goals and then been in Sodding League for 3 months of it. There aren't many. Normally we flag up 3 threats, don't we? We're struggling to find 3 threats from this Brentford side with Toney absent.
Well, yeah, because the threats do come through those 2 strikers that we've already mentioned. I think, I mean, they're quite a big physical side from what I've seen, and that I think that Luton will relish that. To be honest, I don't think that's anything to be scared of after that Palace game where they did just try and chuck it in the box and bully Luton, and Luton weren't having it. Then I think that's not something that Luton need to be particularly afraid of. I think it really is the counter aspect and the speed in which they can break away. But equally, Luton have got similar abilities as we've seen. We've seen it more at home is the thing, though, isn't it? We need to see it a bit more away.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that to you, Derek. I mean, obviously, recent away games, we've gone to Man United, we've gone to Aston Villa, we've set up very defensively. You'd understand that. They're 2 damn good sides. Would you like to see Luton be a little bit more on the front foot here? Because Brentford, with all no disrespect to them, I mean, they're probably only slightly above that league of teams that we think we're competing with. They're at the sort of lower end of the next tier up, really, aren't they? So would you like to see us be a little bit more positive, a little bit more front-footed, or are you happy if we set up deep and hit them on the counter-attack again?
I don't know if we'll sit as deep. We're Luton. Well, we'll respect Brentford at the end of the day, and we'll wait for them or whatever. But I do think that we'll turn around and probably create more against Brentford than we have against. I mean, let's face. I mean, people go on about Man United being in a bad spot, but let's face it. We went there and they had won 4 of the 5 previous games in the league, and since we played them, they've gone and won again today or whatever. So they're 5 from 6. So you wouldn't turn around and say people thought that they're a side out of form, but they were probably in decent form when we went there. But in all reality, on paper, we're not going to turn around and win. Brentford are a side I turn around and see. Brentford are a side between 10th to 14th or 15th in the Premier League. Well, at the moment, we're 17th. There's no reason why we can't go there and be competitive. And as I said, we ain't going to lose 7-0. First and foremost, I think we'll turn around and put in a positive performance. Where that positive performance takes us is another matter. But I feel relatively confident that Luton Town will turn around and put up a good show, we're probably meeting Brentford at a good time because they're not at full, they're not at their maximum strength. They have got a good record. I can't say Griffin Park because they're no longer at Griffin Park, and the new ground's a mouthful to me, kid. Well, look, we're Luton Town. We never do what we expect we do or whatever, but this is one sort of game in the away from home that I thought that, you know, will we win? Maybe not. Capable of a draw? Certainly are.
Yeah, that's fair. Fair calls. Let's turn the attention back to our team then. Obviously, we're recording this podcast before Rob's press conference, as always. Didn't like the vibes over Marvellous Nakamba, I must admit, in terms of his potential to play in this game. But Issa Kabore should be out of concussion protocols by then. I'm pretty sure it's less than 2 weeks. I can't remember the exact day. I think it's 10.
10 days.
10 days, yeah. So he's out of concussion protocols. You would imagine he's available. First of all, does he come back into the side? Does he change a winning side to bring Kabore back into the side? And secondly, would you bring him back into the side?
He comes straight back in for me because because he Doughty had to go and play over that side, and I think Doughty has been an absolute one of the standout performers this season. I think he's been fabulous. He really has, but he ain't got right foot. So in the previous podcast, we highlighted this wonderful ball that Ross Barkley played through to him, and he got to the byline and didn't really have the conviction to do anything with his right foot off there, and that's not what we've seen from Alfie Doughty. He's up there for crosses, assists. We've talked about him potentially being a wild card for England, but not on the right hand side. So he's got to go back over the other side, and Issa comes in and resumes what they were doing the previous couple of games, because he was really starting to hit a bit of form, I think. So it was a shame that he couldn't come in, but we knew after you saw that footage of him getting knocked out, there's no chance now with the concussion protocols, and they're the right thing, but he wasn't going to play. So it was needs must a bit against Palace, and I think they were just a bit stunted in that respect. So hopefully that gives them a bit more freedom to get down the wings.
Kabore in for...
I think that Kabore will come in on the right-hand side, and I think they'll turn around and play Menge Lockyer, and then Osho, and I think Amari'i Bell will be the person not to, because I think Doughty will then go and play as the left wing-back, and that's what I think. So I think Kabore will, if he comes in, he'll come in and replace Bell, but not like-for-like position.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it, but we've also got this thing of Bell. It seems to be very much in the forefront of Edwards' thinking, didn't he? Played virtually every minute last time, and until he got that injury, he was ever present as well, because he's such an athlete. I suppose he didn't really do anything particularly bad against. I mean, underselling. Then I mean, I thought he should have maybe tripped up Elise something, but on the way to his goal. But other than that, for a player that's been out for a month, come more than that, he come back and played really well against Palace. So that's what you want. Really, you want these conundrums to try and figure out, because previously it was bare bones stuff, wasn't it? Not that they didn't perform admirably, but away from home, when perhaps we've already talked about that they're not going to have a lot of the ball and maybe going to have to rely on counters, then you want a bit of pace, don't you?
So you've just mentioned the word pace there, and I turn around and I see, if we're talking about Ben Bumo, you turn around and obviously plays centre to the right-hand side. I think that's where Luton Town needs to have a bit of pace on the left, and that's where I turn around and see Doughty. And Osho is, I mean, he came in after being out for 4 or 5 months or whatever, missed pre-season or whatever, and still turned around and managed to come up here. And I'd rather have Osho playing on the left-hand side or whatever, or even Locks going over there and Osho playing in the centre. I think that we need plenty of pace on that left-hand side to turn around and counteract Bumo.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you on that front. I suppose we're going with a 5 defence. Is that what we're doing?
It swings and roundabouts at the end of the day. It's how Rob will turn around and see how he wants to set up. He might want to play 3 at the back, and he might want to turn around and play 2 deep at midfield players and the 2 wing backs and then 2 up front. He might only want to go 1 up top. It all depends how he wants to set up. But to me, I think that we need plenty of pace down that left-hand side defensively to counteract Mbemba.
Given that I can't get a name out of you, who he comes in for, you're playing 12 men on Saturday. I mean, that'll give us a bit of an advantage, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, I was trying to work it out in my own brain as I was talking, but I think, yeah, it'd be Issa, Osho, Mengi, Lockyer, and Doughty at the back.
So it is Bell that goes.
Yeah.
That's both.
Sorry if I talked you into it, James.
No. I mean that's what I was sort of veering towards, but he just does seem to have a bit of a real appreciation for Amari'i Bell.
He
and
does,
he
yeah. I
plays
mean,
a lot
Amari'i
of the
Bell
time.
hasn't turned around there and let Luton Town down every time. So when Amari'i Bell first stepped into Luton Town, he seemed to be a player that always had maybe one error in him, and that error turned around sometimes cost a goal. But, you know, through that first season, he improved, solid last season, and he's turned around and been solid, but he's turned around and been available this year. So I've got no thing, but I'm just thinking that we need that little bit of pace down that left-hand side or whatever to counteract Brentford's strength.
So can I throw a curveball at you both then?
Oh, thanks, Kev.
How about we have a back 5, and hear me out, left to right of Doughty, Bell, Lockyer, Mengi, Kabore, with Osho and Barkley sat in front of them.
Oh, yeah, there's always that there because Osho turned around. Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair shout, mate, because Osho's turned around and not let us down when he's played in front of a back 4.
Now that means Osho for Pelly, but Pelly went off fairly early against Palace. Not his greatest game.
Where are you going to put Ross Barkley?
So you'd have Barkley and Osho alongside each other in front of the defence.
But then you'll turn around and say there's no Nakamba.
Well, I think we're me personally, I'm working on the assumption that there's no Nakamba.
That's fine.
Yeah, but I remember asking Edwards about this last season, that when there was a bit of a shortage in that area, because Osho has played there before and he sees him more as a central defender. That was last season. Things changed, so maybe that's an option. I wouldn't be against it because I think he can do that role really well. And what I saw against Crystal Palace was a player that's absolutely confident with the ball at his feet, and you need that in that position. And he can tackle, obviously, as well. He's a defender, but yeah, I wouldn't be against that if that was a route they go down.
And he also has pace, so he can play the left-hand side of Barkley and also cover Mbemo down that side and almost triple up on him like Palace did with Chio. It's an option. As the boys have said, Rob's got a right old selection headache on his hands with regards to who he picked, but also, as the boys said, that's exactly what he'll be looking at. I think we can all agree, though, that in front of that, it's going to be unchanged, isn't it? Chio, Townsend, Morris, they're the front 3 again. Don't think anyone's got any differences on that one.
No, I think you have to. In the previous one, we were talking about, does Chong come in? And he was really impressive when he came on against Palace, but maybe that's his role for the minute now. He comes on and he really opens up teams up, and he's an impact player off the bench, because I've been impressed with him. The last 2 home games, particularly when he's come off the bench, he's been really involved, particularly in the goals as well. And he just, well, he was involved in the winner, wasn't he? Because his movement of the ball to get away and start that move. Ross then got it out to Chio, and we all know what happened from there. So he's a talent, he really is. But yeah, I think maybe that's probably his best role for now. But it's tough on him because he's played really well.
I agree with you, James. I mean, I turn around there. I mean, people used to turn around and, like, we'll go back a couple of seasons, and people turn around and said Harry Cornick's best role for Luton Town was coming on in the last 20 minutes when the game gets stretched and he can use his pace. I see that this season with Chong.
Yeah.
And whatever. And I turn around there like, whatever happens, you're going to see a far better player next season in T8 Chong than you are this season. And in 2 seasons' time, you're going to see even a better player. But at the present moment where Luton Town are, he is an impact substitute that'll turn around and can take it out. He stretches a game because he'll turn around and he'll drive at defenders. And I see TH Chomp as an impact player, pretty much like we used Harry Cornick a couple of years ago in the Championship.
Yep. That's fair enough. So I think, front three hasn't got too many selection headaches.
I don't think we'll play a front three though at Brentford.
Well, it's,
It's a one with two.
Yeah.
Either side that come back, don't they?
But I very much doubt we're going to go like 5-2-3 or whatever it is on or whatever.
No, it's a 5-4-1, isn't it?
I do feel we'll play the one lone up the top. Two wideish players will turn around there and play a bit of deeper role.
But those wide players, James, could be really important because Brentford generally set up with wing-backs. The only problem they got is their wing-backs are injured. Rico Henry's out. I think he's out long-term. Aaron Hick is the other one.
Yep.
Scotland international, he's also out. Where do Luton do their best work? They do their best work in wide areas. Ka-ching, ka-ching.
Yeah, I think so. Derek's already highlighted it, that we need that pace down the wings, and for that reason, because if you're going to play on the counter anyway, you're going to have to get up there and you have to make best use of the ball when you get it. If they're going to have a bit more possession, which we probably think they will have, just by nature of them being the home side, not necessarily what they've currently achieved this season with the ball, but that's okay. Luton are used to playing that way, and it's not doesn't frighten anyone that. But you do have to have the pace, and it was interesting, wasn't it, against Palace that, as you've already mentioned, that they were tripling up on Gio at times because he's such a threat, and he still got joy as well. A couple of times he ran at Ward and Anderson and frightened the life out of them.
They only had two and a Watford reject, I'll turn around and tell you in the second half.
Well, the fact that one of them was Joel Ward anyway, you could argue they only doubled up on him.
Well, they probably only had one and a Watford reject and a geriatric, Kev.
Yeah. Chio's eyes must have lit up when he saw him in front of him.
But that shows the respect that he's earning for himself in this division, but it also shows you can stick three on him and he'll still run past you. So, yeah, he's a really exciting prospect. When I spoke to him after the Palace game, he was limping a little bit, but I think that he was sore anyway. We've spoken about before the game. We're going to have to manage that, but he didn't show any signs in the match of feeling any sort of tightness or worry about his hamstring or his ankle, because he was off and away all the time. And
James, you have to be a bit more adventurous, because if I was speaking to Chio, I'll be turning around and saying to him, every time you get that ball, keep driving into the box, because when you turn around and attacking people at pace and there's two or three people, you knock the ball beside them, it only takes a trailing leg and you're down. And then Chio, with all his thing, ain't got much of a left peg really at the end of the day. When he's playing out left, he'll turn around, he'll check back and go back inside. So I just like him to turn around and keep driving and driving and driving, regardless if he's on the right or the left, because we all know in football, pace hurts any team.
It reminds me that they said at the weekend, Jeremy Doku went past Trent Alexander-Arnold more than any player in the Premier League this season. And I thought, well, that's only because Chio done his hamstring and went off 15 minutes from the end. Otherwise, he'd have gone past him.
Probably so, Kev. Yeah.
He'd have gone past him enough. Yeah, getting Chio on the ball is obviously going to be key in this game. There's no doubt about that. But even if they do double or triple up on him, that only frees up an Andros Townsend or dare I say it, a Carlton Morris or someone to potentially, show that they've got the quality to deliver the goods. So
Issa was doing that against Liverpool as well. So there's on the other side.
Barkley. I mean, there's so many options in this side now, and that's why I'm quite confident that we can go there and get a result.
We've always got options. Chio comes in there and there's always someone flying on the overlap, and the same on the other side. We might go direct until we get in the final third of the field. And you look at it, then we get in the final third of the field, the ball might go off for a throw-in or whatever. But from there on, we try to turn around and control the ball and play football.
But more and more now, we're playing a kind of different direct as well, because Ross Barkley's direct, isn't he? But he's not direct in the hoof it up to the striker.
No,
he's direct. He runs direct at the opposition.
He's driving at the opposition. That's correct.
And, people say, direct football, you whack it up to your strikers. Well, actually, Ross Barkley's direct. because he directly runs straight at you, and
You can say the same
That's
about
still
Chio.
direct,
Chio
isn't it?
hit the ball on the halfway line, he's turned around there. He might knock it 10 yards behind, in front of the fullback, because he knows over a race of 15 yards, he's going to
He's
get
got
there
him.
first, mate. And that's it. There's
there's
always one way to skin a cat. There's playing direct, and then there's turn around and playing direct in different ways, where we play down the channels or whatever. And that's our forte, because sides want to put it out. We've got possession then in their final third, our throw in or whatever, our corner. We can dictate the play.
Yeah, it's kind of seen as like this negative thing being direct. But
Well, I mean,
You can do it.
I'm enjoying it. I mean, apart from the first 20 minutes against Palace when it was just a bit aimless, but when they get it right, Luton have now got a midfield that is not a million miles away from the striker, because that's when you play that and you've got an isolated man like Cole Morris up on his own who can play with his back to the goal and hold the ball up. But if he's got no runners or anyone to bring the ball onto him, then it's a different game. But when you've got someone like Townsend, who unbelievable battery that he's got, he's still getting back to fitness as well, and obviously he got taken off in the second half, and the reinforcements that came on were amazing. But you got Jordan Clark that came on as well, and I thought for his first home outing in the Premier League, he did really well. He needs that sort of player that probes as well. One great ball with the outside of his boot down to the wings against Palace, and you sort of thought that's what we've been missing. Not necessarily missing from Luton team, but from him, because he'd first play that.
He's the number 10 for me. He turns around and sits in.
Yeah.
Well, you could call it the top of the diamond, but we don't play the diamond or whatever. But he's a sort of like the false nine or whatever. He turns around and just sits behind Morris or whatever, and he can turn around and go either way.
forget his pass. The tackle on Will Hughes is what we were missing. That's what we were missing, son. Wallop. Yeah, on the scummer. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's it, mate. You got it.
Wallop. That's what we were missing. So there are plenty of ways that Luton can get at this Brentford side, and actually they might match up fairly well to us, because we're not going to let them counter-attack, because we're just going to sit too deep. And even if they do, we've got pace in the wide areas where they attack. And they're missing their two wing-backs. They can be exposed. You know, I can see this one being a profitable game. Before I get your score predictions, gents, one last question. Is this a bigger game on Saturday because of the two that follow it, Derek? I.e., have we got to get something from this game? Because let's be realistic, the two that follow are unlikely to yield too much in the way of points, and that's just being realistic.
I don't quite see it like that. I just turn around. I think the Luton Town have got to turn around. They've got to pick out like 6 sides. So I'll turn around and see it as Sheffield United, Burnley, ourselves, Everton, Fulham, Bournemouth, sickening Palace or whatever. I think Brentford are a bit better than the Palace side or whatever, over a season or whatever. We've just got to turn around and take care of business in amongst us or whatever. And the more sides that we can turn around and drag in with us, the better it is. Because if there's people say there's only 4 teams going to get relegated, I mean, you got a 25% chance of surviving or whatever. You get 6 sides to turn around, you got a 50% chance of surviving. Just take care of business. Go about your business away from home. Try to turn around and keep it as tight as possible. Stay in the game as long as possible. If you nick a goal and you go 1 in front, you're going to adjust the game plan or whatever. If you turn around and you're only a goal down, you can adjust the game plan in the last 10, 15 minutes. At the end of the day, I'd rather turn around and see Luton go and lose 2-3-0 away from home, chasing the game when you're 1-0 down, than turn around and just settle for a 1-0. And that's where we came a cropper at Brighton, and that's where we came a cropper at Chelsea. And that's just, that's probably Rob Edwards' way. At the end of the day, you can't go fair in anyone or whatever. And I just think, just take each game as it comes. I'll never turn around and say this is a must-win game, because football is crazy, mate. I'll turn around. We've all lost. I mean, a must-win game against Hyde United or whatever at home, Kevin, we turn around and get turned over. At the end of the day, a game of football is decided. I mean, you could turn around and play the same game 100 times over, and you turn around there, you're not going to turn around and so if we played Liverpool 100 times, we ain't going to lose 80 out of 100. And most people, the betting office or the bookmaker, would have Liverpool 5s on or whatever, It ain't going to happen. And that's just the way football is. It's just unpredictable.
You're getting us into Ivan Toney territory.
I'm not betting on the penalty like Ivan Toney. Sorry.
Same question to you. Is it must win because of the two that follow? Sorry, not must win. Is it must get something out of because of the two that follow?
That one, yeah, it's must get something out of them because I just in a good.
Should I just to interrupt? Sorry, not just the two that follow. It's also Burnley v Sheffield United on Saturday.
Is there any chance they can both lose?
Well, they'll both try to lose. There's absolutely no danger of
It
that.
doesn't matter if one of them wins, we're still turn around regardless of our result. We're still in front of them, and the other side is still going to turn around and be that points them out behind us as they are now. That's the way I turn around and just see it.
It's the two that follow though. They're the top two from last season. They're the top two right now.
Before James answers, I look at December and I turn around and see Bournemouth. I think Bournemouth away and Sheffield United away. They are the sort of games we need 3 points out of those. You know, we need to win at least one of those two games and come away with a bit more than 3 points. They're the two main important. Listen, when we saw December, I was on this Sky Sports thing. The first thing I referred to was December looks horrendous. I mean, at the end of the day, you got Arsenal, Man City, Newcastle United. Well, that's 3 of the 4 top teams from last year, and then Chelsea. The amount of money they spent, I thought, well, there's another side, the next top 40 or whatever. I'm thinking, where are we going to get a point at home? So I look at them. Our 2 games in December, whatever, regardless of Brentford or whatever coming up here, they are the key games. And then I look at in January and February. There's always the odd game or whatever, and I turn around. We can get through December picking up some points. If we only get 4 points from now until New Year's Day or whatever, and then past the FA Cup third round, would I be happy? No, I want more. Obviously, I'm greedy, but turn around there, I'll take it because I know that there's lighter waters, as they turn around and say after that. And then we get more choppy waters and then lighter waters.
Yeah, the fixtures do level themselves out a little bit as we go into the new year. But where are you on Saturday then in terms of the overall picture? Because it's a tough December, as we know.
It is. I mean, I think it's a winnable game, but I'd settle for a point as well. So, but I think it's one where don't go into those 2 games that we all know are coming up on the back of a defeat. So it's more of a don't lose scenario for me. It's away as well, isn't it? But we all know that we should be
you're
picking
going
up
0-0 then, James?
Oh, wait, don't. I can't reveal the correct scores before the end. Everyone's on tenterhooks for James's correct score. As always, that is for sure. The one thing I will say, of course, which we do need to touch on before I get your correct scores, Saturday could be the day. Could be the day that all this cobblers about us not getting Derby's points record can finally end, and idiots out there can shut up and concentrate on Burnley or whichever sack of shit loses that other game. And they're the ones that break Derby's points record, because we can get to 12 points with a win on Saturday.
Well, I think that those people that have been saying that have gone awfully quiet in the last couple of weeks anyway. So I think that's going to happen. That'll be on the cards anyway. But whether that's at Brentford's different matter. But I just think Luton were going to get so much out of that Palace win. The 3 points, obviously, you get the monkey off your back of the first home win, but just how gritty they were to get it. I think that you can go away and play virtually any team in the league with that sort of mentality, and you've got a chance of getting something.
I'll remind you of that when we go to Manchester City.
I like to remind everyone, because you remember when we turned around there in League 2, just before we were getting relegated, and there was that corner of the Brentford crowd who turned around at Griffin Park, turned around and said, we'll never play you again. Unfortunately, we've turned around and done 2 games, and now we're going to have you in the Premier League.
I was going to finish this podcast with that.
Sorry, Kevin.
You absolutely nicked my you've nicked my thunder there, but you've fully well done.
We'll never play you again. Well, unfortunately, you are, mate.
You are indeed, yeah. And you're not only are you playing us again, you're playing us as equals as well, and that's the most important thing. Right, end of the podcast. Correct score predictions. James, you go first.
I'm not going to go for 0-0 because
we don't keep clean sheets.
As much as Kaminsky deserves one, we haven't managed to do it so far. So I think it'll be a score draw though, and I'm going to go for 1-0.
Derek, correct score, mate.
Well, I did say 1-1 before this, but now he's mentioned Comiskey won't keep a clean sheet. I'm going to go 0-0.
0-0, fair enough. I'm very much with James once again for the second week in a row, and it does pain me to be in that position, but I am. 1-1 draw, I'll be more than happy with a 1-1 draw. I do think we score. I'm absolutely comfortable with that. If Kai Havertz can score, I'm sure as hell we can. But like you say, we are finding clean sheets difficult to come by, and no doubt someone will ping one in from 35 yards like an annoying
Have the faith.
at least they goal like the other day. But yeah, I know I'm comfortable that we get something from this game. I do think they match up well to us, and hopefully that's the case. Hopefully that's how it plays out. If you're one of the 1,700 and so that have got a ticket on Saturday, loud and proud as always. The boys will need us more than ever in this coming month, and I'm sure we'll definitely deliver in the terraces as they will do on the pitch. That's it for this episode of the podcast, because Derek stole my thunder and I can't use that Brentford not playing us again line. But
You'll never play us again.
but I would like to thank Derek and James for joining me for this episode. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on, Kevin.
You're more than welcome, mate. We'll see you again later in the season, I'm sure. Thank you for watching or listening, however you consume this podcast. If you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do. The more subscribers we get, the higher the numbers, the better it helps our podcast and the further that we can reach it far and wide. Keep your comments coming in. Give us your score predictions. If you give us the score prediction before the game and it's correct, we'll shout you out in the review podcast, which will come out on Monday morning. We'll get that out as early as we possibly can, because obviously Arsenal's on Tuesday night the following week. Until then, though, my thanks to the Hightown Club for hosting the podcast, to Sean Grant and the Wolfgang for the intro music, to Ed Smith Creative for all the designs that you see on this set, and again to you for watching or listening. Until next time, come on you Atters.
Can you believe it? We are Premier League! Yes!
I love this town. I love this town. I love this town. You know what I love about this town is actually you. Everyone in it has got these massive souls.
We're